Hello and welcome to a new edition of Business Insider. The world is currently embroiled in a global energy crisis that has greatly affected commodity prices with repercussions for households, manufacturers and the wider economy alike. As reduced global natural gas supply could not keep up with the growth in demand arising from the first stages of economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic, gas prices skyrocketed and record high prices for natural gas saw demand for coal as an alternative and therefore coal prices were also higher. The ripple effects of the energy supply shortage have since been felt in the prices of electricity, transportation, fuels and even fertilizers. And this is at a time when we are talking about the need for transition to clean energy, to environmentally friendly energy, to green energy, as the energy transition is a crucial enabler of sustainable development and climate resilience. To fight global warming, forward-looking actions should create jobs and stimulate growth and harvest social and health benefits naturally. So the energy crisis, between the challenges and the solutions and the need for transition, a swift transition for the sake of the health of mankind and for economic prosperity, that will be our topic here tonight on this edition of Business Insider. But first, as usual, let's take a look at our major stories for this past week. And we, of course, have the local news here. First, as Egypt has made great efforts to achieve the sixth objective of the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs on water through the 2030 vision and the strategic plan to manage water resources until 2037. This statement was revealed by Minister of Foreign Affairs Sameh Shoukry at the opening of the fifth edition of the Cairo Water Week, the CWW, on October the 16th. Moreover, Shoukry added that Egypt comes in a leading position among countries facing water scarcity, deemed the driest country in the world. He said that a roundtable discussion on water security would be held at the upcoming 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, of course, to be held here in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt from the 7th the 18th of November. The minister also noted that the AWARE initiative is expected to be launched with the aim of taking action for water resilience. The fifth edition of the CWW comes in line with preparations for the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh and the UN Water Conference set to be held in March of 2023. And Egypt has said that it is ready to pump natural gas to Lebanon immediately once the procedures of exporting Egyptian natural gas are complete. This according to a statement by the Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources on October 17th during his meeting with the Lebanese Minister of Energy and Water, Walid Fayyad. Minister of Petroleum Tar el-Mulla said that Egypt is committed to providing all aspects of support, cooperation and expertise to Lebanon in the oil sector. And the government here has allocated up to 321 billion Egyptian pounds for subsidies, grants and social benefits. That was in the fiscal year 2021-2022. And the government is now targeting allocations to reach 356 billion Egyptian pounds, almost a 10% increase for the fiscal year 2022-2023. The news was revealed by Minister of Planning and Economic Development Khaled on October 17th. Allocations for subsidies, grants and social benefits exceeded 2 trillion Egyptian pounds in the past 8 fiscal years, surging by 100% from 1 trillion in the preceding 8 years, as Said noted. Public investments in the sectors of transport and housing amounted to 1.3 trillion Egyptian pounds in the past 8 fiscal years, climbing by 488%. Again, that's the public investments in the sectors of transport and housing. While total allocations for commodity subsidies grew by 193% in the same period. Meanwhile, allocations for Takaful and Karama over the past 8 fiscal years stood at around 121 billion Egyptian pounds. Moreover, Minister Said indicated that the total spending on the village's development of the first phase of the Haya Karima Decent Life Presidential Initiative reached about 135 billion Egyptian pounds at the end of September of this year. You're still watching Business Insider, dear viewers, here on Night TV International, and with us now in the studio is Dr. Khaled Youssef, and he's the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Navigation Science and Space Technology at Beni Suef University. And Dr. Youssef is also the Principal Advisor for Industry 4 Alliance, the Ministry of Military Production. Dr. Youssef, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure for me.
Thank you, Dr. Youssef. Great pleasure to have you with us. Allow us, Dr. Youssef, dear viewers, to watch this report about the energy crisis, the challenges and the solutions, and then come back and start our discussion.
Thank you.
Egypt's renewable energy market is expected to register a growth rate of more than 10% during the forecast period of 2022 to 2027. The COVID-19 outbreak in Q1 of 2020 had a transient impact on the renewable sector, especially electricity export projects, which were temporarily put on hold. Though there was an impact on the supply chain during H1 of 2020, the renewable energy sector in the country managed to grow at a steady pace in 2020. Factors such as supportive government regulations and growing demand for solar energy are expected to drive the market. The solar energy segment is expected to witness significant growth during the forecast period owing to supportive government initiatives and upcoming solar projects in the country. Solving intermittency problems using energy storage systems is likely to create immense opportunities for the Egypt renewable energy market soon. Significant developments on upcoming projects and supportive government policies are expected to drive the market during the study period. The country's sunshine stands about 9-11 hours a day from north to south with few cloudy days. Egypt has set plans to increase the supply of electricity generated from solar photovoltaic by 22% and concentrate solar power by 3% by 2035. The private sector is expected to deliver most of this capacity over the forecast period. Solar energy holds a significant share in the renewable energy market. The country is working toward the 2035 Integrated Sustainable Energy Strategy to install 31 million watts of solar power by 2035. Investments of international companies like Siemens, Gamsa, Toyota, Tsusho, and others have helped bring down the cost of renewables in Egypt, significantly creating a more developing and competitive market. With upcoming projects and large-scale investments in solar energy under various policies and strategies, the solar energy segment share in Egypt is expected to witness significant growth during the forecast period. Egypt has been one of the fastest-growing African countries to install solar and wind energy since 2017, and as of Q1 of 2020, the total renewable energy installed capacity was approximately 6 gigawatt. The government has a vast array of renewable energy projects in the pipeline that are expected to make Egypt overtake South Africa and become the largest renewable energy market in Africa. The government of Egypt has been a critical enabler for the sector's growth, and it is likely to play a similar role during the forecast period. The government has formulated plans under its National Renewable Energy Strategy to increase the share of renewable energy in the national energy mix to 20% by 2022 and further double it to 42% by 2035. These ambitious targets are expected to be achieved with a set of policies and mechanisms.
Thank you very much, Abir Hussein and Rasha Abdul Hamid, for this report back here in the studio with Dr. Khaled Youssef, the Vice Dean of the Navigation Science and Space Technology faculty at Beni Suef University, also the Principal Advisor for Industry 4 Alliance for the Ministry of Military Production. Dr. Youssef, the world is in an energy crisis. There are many challenges and there are some solutions that are suggested. The microphone is yours.
Yeah.
Please talk us through this crisis globally and also put us in light, please, of the situation here at home.
Yeah. So for the energy crisis that we have today across the world, actually we are in front of a problem which is the deficiency of key energy resources. And also, we are constrained by another problem, which is the challenge of the world's sustainability. So there are key two terms that we have today that we need to reach some sort of equilibrium, the balance between the challenges and the opportunity that we have. So if you go to the sources deficiency today, all of us know about the problem of the Russian with the Ukraine and the issue of the gas to the European side, that today Europeans is in a problem for the coming winter, for even the basic heating rather than the manufacturing and all that stuff. So that's the energy, that's the problem. The sources of the energy around the world, there is a source of energy from the carbon-based components like the fuel, the carbon, the natural gas. And there are other sources which we are calling renewable sources, like the sun, the solar source, the wind source, and there are a lot also like the biofuels and the hydrogen fuel. So the sources is very diversified. But now we are constrained by another point, which is the sustainability. So are all of those sources of energy is useful for us, for our world to be sustained and to continue living in health and continuous improvement in our world and our countries? Then we have a problem with the carbon-based fuel. So because it adds a lot to the carbon footprint and thus all the adverse impact that we hear about for the climate changes and warming effects and the impact on the ozone layer and all of that type of impacts that we have today.
But the renewables at the same time could be costly at the moment or might be a bit expensive at the moment. Maybe in the long term it will be a good strategy. So what do we do now?
The cost of the renewable now is dramatically reduced. So if
compared to
the old, like 10 years ago, like 20 years ago.
Yes.
So if we see, for example, the cost of the generation of a kilowatt hour out of a solar cell is totally different, is reduced by more than 10 times rather than the beginning of the use of such resources. So if we see the cost of also the wind turbines in the areas that accepted to implement wind turbines, we have a difference in the cost. So,
but do we have the infrastructure? I mean, globally?
Not only the infrastructure, but also the studies related to the position that can accept. For example, in Egypt, if we want to install the solar cells, we have to install the solar cells to get the maximum efficiency that we can get out of the solar cell. We need to select geographically what are the best locations that we could make use of it. I mean, at the level of the country. If you are talking about generation of energy at the level of the country, not only at the level of buildings and homes, and just to put a solar cell on the roof of each home, this is the good approach. But if you are talking about...
We have been banned, right?
We have, yeah. We have.
Okay, so, I mean, if the decision was yours, I mean, would you switch very quickly to renewables, or will it be a gradual switch that will take a lot of time? Because
that's by the way, that's the policy in Egypt today. That's the plan by the government today. That's a condition for a smart city. To have a smart city, it should be based on some sort of renewabilities. So if it's my decision, it's the country decision, it's everybody, because the renewable is not only a country plan, it's also an individual plan. So if every one of us decide to depend more on the renewables, this means that we can achieve not only a cost-effective approach for generation of energy, but also an eco-sustainable for our ecosystem that we are living.
How do we do it as individuals? I mean,
for example, if you are talking about the individuals, if you have a look at the type of the vehicles that is going to be available for the coming 3 to 5 years, it's going to be more electric vehicles rather than the
but they will be costly.
It will be costly, but operationally it will be lower. This is one approach.
Yeah.
For example, if we are talking about, by the way, the electrical energy is not a clean source of energy. It is a clean source if it is generated by the solar cells or the wind turbines. But in itself, if it is generated by the fuels, the carbon-based fuel, then it is not a clean source.
Right.
But if you are talking about what is the value behind, for example, having an electric vehicle on our plan for the electric vehicle, the use for the electric vehicle is managing the need for or the demand for the cars, and decrease the impact of these cars, the direct impact on the direct environment or the direct ecosystem. So if I am using a car and this car is not generating a carbon dioxide out of the combustion of the engines of the car, this means that I transfer the part of the exhaustions and the exhausts that is coming out of the car to the point of generation. Then I go to the point of the generation and I make it controlled and regulated and all of that stuff. So it's a matter of regulation and the control and the governance to the use of the fuel. Another example, that for the homes we can go for some light loads to be powered by simple solar cells on the roof of each building. If we go to the factories,
can this be done to old buildings or?
Yeah, for sure it is based on some calculations and some studies, but yeah, it is independent on the type of the building or the age of the building.
But to make the switch, I mean, will be very costly.
No.
Okay.
No. Today is no.
Okay.
The answer is no.
Okay. Now, globally, again, I want to ask about the switch to clean energy or green energy, because this will eventually happen. I mean, everybody believes that in a few decades this will happen. At least there will be a balance between those the energy sources that pollute the environment and the others that don't. And supposedly that the clean energy sources will have the bigger share. Now, in your view, for this to happen, how long will it take and how difficult or easy the transition will be?
The pollutants to our environment in general is not only, by the way, the use of the energy or the exhausts out of the combustion of the carbon-based fuels. The pollutants is coming from several factors. The pesticide that we are wrongly used in the agriculture side is a pollutant. So we summarize such type of gas or volatiles that is coming out of some process which is not clean enough or sustainable to our environment. we classify this type, we say CO axis and NO axis, which is the carbon components, the carbon oxide components, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and all of the compound form of these chemically, and also the nitrous oxides. So a lot of activities that is done today by the people around us is impacting our environment dramatically. So combustion of engines is dramatically impacting. The overusage of electricity in our homes is impacting, because we have what we say the equivalent carbon footprint, which means every kilowatt hour I am using in my house is equivalent to a carbon dioxide that is generated at the generation point, at the source of the energy supply. So all of us can contribute to the saving of our environment, decreasing the pollutant use by saving our energy consumption in our homes, using technology that support this, because the saving is not only depending on just the behavior of us in the homes, but also in using reliable technologies. That's why, for example, as our president said, the birth of a new country is associated with smart cities.
Right.
Smart cities, smart environment. The smart means reduction of energy consumption, means more friendly environment to us and to our ecosystem that we are living in.
Indeed. And this will definitely serve the economy
Exactly.
As well. Dr. Youssef, dear viewers, allow us to take with us now Dr. Ahmed Abdel Nadir, who is the former Advanced Technology Counselor to the Minister of Military Production, with us now here live over the phone. Dr. Abdel Nadir, a very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. And please, sir, allow me to ask you, how do you, as a technology expert, an advanced technology expert, believe that technology can help us make the switch to clean energy, the necessary transition that all of the world must achieve?
Excuse me, your last part of your question was not clear for me. The voice was not so good.
Okay, Dr. Abdel Nadir, we wanted to know from you, as a technology expert, how can technology help the world make the switch to clean energy?
Of course, you know, now we are talking about Industry 4. Industry 4 doesn't mean industry only. We are talking about smart industries. We are talking about smart agriculture systems, smart medical systems, smart education systems.
Yes.
I4 generally reduces the consumption of energy, maximize the product. We will have good product with very high quality. Reducing the needed energy to produce our products will go into direct impact to the environment. Less energy needed, it means less energy will be generated, it means less pollution of the environment.
All right. So, and Dr. Abdel Nadir, do you think that the switch to clean energy will be swift and easy, or do you think it will take a lot of time and will be a very difficult road?
It is not a matter of saying it is either difficult or easy. It is a must. There is no way to avoid such transfer to green energy. If we are talking about Europe within 1 decade, it will be green. So if we talk about Africa and other development countries, we can talk about 2 decades maximum, 2 decades and a half. So all must go to green. It will not be allowed to go to the regular fuel, which pollutes a lot the environment.
So there will be like no more coal, for instance, what would happen to coal?
I think we have to put some incentives to let people go to green energy. For example, in the states now, in some states, if you buy an electric car, they give you charging of this electric car for the whole year. Whole year you will charge your car without any cent. So I mean that you have to put some incentives for private sectors, for individuals to go through green energy. For example, solar systems or solar cells on top of houses or in private areas. Some agreement must be signed between government or Ministry of Electricity and such people to take the excess of this electricity to the network, for example, and to buy this excess of electricity from the people, from individuals, to be fed to the national network, for example.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed Abdel Nadir, former Advanced Technology Counselor to the Minister of Military Production and energy expert and technology expert, for your time and input with us here, sir. Dear viewers, allow us to take this short break and come back with Dr. Khaled Youssef and continue here our discussion in the studio. Please stay. Thank you for staying with us, dear viewers. Of course, we are all looking forward to COP27 to be hosted here in the city of peace, Sharm el-Sheikh, from the 6th to the 18th of November. You will be a speaker at the summit, Dr. Youssef. So tell us, what will you be talking about?
Yeah, actually, one of the key points that we are looking for our energy file, for the climate in general, because there is usually an association between the climate and the energy. All of the problems that we have today from the climate due to the unbiased and non-rationalized use of energy in our daily life, either on the residential side, either on the manufacturing side, agriculture side, everything. So one important thing we are focusing today, which is the manufacturing sector, because this is one of the main targets for our country, which is the localization of the manufacturing, and we
Right.
need to focus deeply on this, which is the following of key standards used today worldwide, which is the Industry 4 standards. The Industry 4 standard has a clear impact on the energy consumption. In some cases, in our pilot study that we did in the last couple of years, we succeed to reach an energy consumption up to 30% in key manufacturing industries, which means a lot of saving for energy. So we have a line for using sustainable energy to be more competitive in that, and also have another line which is the saving file. So saving is important. It is at the same level of importance as the level of the creation of energy. So we are between two main parts: the creation and generation on one side, and the rationalized use of energy on the other side. These together could reach a clear control the climate conditions and sustainable world.
Right. Dr. Youssef, the more I hear about the issue, I mean, it's a fascinating issue, the transition, the energy transition. But I want to ask you, I mean, when Dr. Abdel Nadir was saying, for instance, that the developed world can achieve good targets in a decade maybe, and the developing world in 2 or 3 decades. Now, what's the end goal? I mean, say by 30 years from now, say, I mean, how much percent of the energy would be dependent on clean energy like the solar, the wind, and so on, and how much percent would depend on the traditional sources of energy that have been with us for centuries now? So, I mean, because it's hard to imagine that coal would be there will be zero dependence on coal or other sources. So Could you tell us what's the end target? I mean, how should it look like?
Yeah. Before I talk about the targets, we need to first explain the capabilities of the sustainable sources today to fulfill our needs. This is an important subject because, for example, on the manufacturing sector, when we are talking about big engines, medium voltage engines, highly power engines, advanced manufacturing capabilities, pumps, compressors, all of that type of engines that we see today in the water stations, in the electrical stations, in the motion of the cars. So when we say that, can we make a car today that is totally dependent not on electricity but on sustainable, means I can put a solar cell around the body of the car and can move on miles, like the case that we have today for the electric vehicle, which is not eco-sustainable. So the question is now, when will we be ready for that? Means we can generate megawatt hours of power out of the sustainable source. It's very challenging today, even on the research side. So nobody can guarantee today the percentage of dependency like 50 years from now, but at the end of the day, we are more constrained rather than we are opportunistic. Means we are constrained by use of the fuels because our environment is not allowing us to do that. So what will we do?
And because they will be depleted anyway, right?
Not only depleted, but it is the resistance of the balance of the ecosystem. So if you see today, I'm increasing my force, but I have a resistance from my environment back. Warming, increase of sea level, tsunamis,
droughts, you name it.
So a lot of problems that we have today. So what we will do, we need to control the increase on the earth temperature. So we need to decrease and reduce the use of energy, obligatory. So that's why today we need to have this balance. And for the coming 20, 30 years, we need to innovate. And this is a challenge in front of the human being in general. Not only the developing countries or the developed countries, human being in general, he need to make this balance.
And there are conflicts of interests, aren't they? I mean, the multinational companies that control those energy sources that pollute the atmosphere, I mean, there's a lot of money here at stake. And some countries have their economies that depend on these sources. And there is a big conflict of interest, isn't there?
Exactly. This is one of the key points, which is the economic point of view, which is the economies of such big organizations that we have, that is across the world, can be counted on like a few number of organizations across the world. On the other side, there is a technical and scientific constraints. So we cannot depend today on the sustainable sources to generate a big volume of energy, a big volume of power, a big amount of power. We cannot do this today. So is there a research towards dependence on sustainability? Yeah, there is a research, but when we are talking about a research, we don't have a commercial product in hand, then we cannot anticipate big time what is happening in the future.
Energy will be a main theme at COP27, right?
Yeah.
A main topic. So let's hope...
Economies and energy,
Yes. So let's hope that, you know, COP27, under Egypt's leadership and with the political will that is obvious here in Egypt, will have something to offer to the world. To Africa, to the world, to ourselves.
It's a message. It's a message today because COP27 is a message to the whole world. When we are hosting such big event, means that we are adopting a very important and key file that everybody today around the world is looking at. So Egypt now is not only hosting the COP27 and put a lot of preparations and staff and speaks, and it's giving a message to the whole world. We are in front of a birth of a new country that is taking the conditions of the climate and the sustainability of the environment as a key pillar in our development goals. So if you are
For itself and for its continent.
for itself and
Africa.
for its continent,
Yes.
Africa. Yeah.
And sending a message to the world, let's unite.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
unite for the sake
Yeah.
of the earth
The world is
that
changing. Yeah.
engulfs us all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The world is changing today, and we need to have a better position, strategic position based on that. So if you are looking about the strategic position, this is the events that give the strategic position.
We're all looking forward to it, and looking forward also to your speech in Sharm el-Sheikh. Dear viewers, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of Business Insider. On behalf of you, we thank very much our distinguished guest, Dr. Khaled Youssef, the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Navigation Science and Space Technology at Beni Suef University, and also the Principal Advisor for the Industry 4 Alliance for the Ministry of Military Production. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you so
Youssef.
much.
Great
Appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Dear viewers, next week, same time, is a new episode of Business Insider. Please stay with Nile TV International. Have all the best and goodbye.